Dutchess Community College is committed to maintaining a positive campus climate and will not tolerate any form of sexual harassment, including sexual assault, sexual violence, and sexual misconduct. It is therefore the responsibility and obligation of all members of the college community to report and/or assist others in reporting incidents of sexual harassment. This training will assist you in understanding your rights and responsibilities at DCC. The goals of this training is for you to know your rights and responsibilities, understand what is Title IX, understand what consent is, understanding VAWA, the Violence Against Women Act, what you can do to prevent sexual violence, who can you contact, what are the policies and procedures, and further resources. While you attend DCC, there are a number of different rules and regulations that you have to follow. When it comes to healthy interactions, we'll be focusing on two major laws, Title IX and VAWA, the Violence Against Women Act.
Nine things to know about Title IX in 89 seconds.
1. Title IX is a landmark federal civil rights law that prohibits sex discrimination in education. Title IX is not just about sports. It also addresses sexual harassment, gender-based discrimination, and sexual violence.
2. Title IX does not apply to female students only. Male and gender nonconforming students are protected too.
3. Schools must be proactive in ensuring that your campus is free of sex discrimination. They can't just wait for something to go wrong.
4. Schools must have an established procedure for handling complaints of sex discrimination, harassment, and violence.
5. Schools must take immediate action to ensure that a survivor can continue his or her education safely.
Number 6. Schools may not retaliate or let someone else retaliate against a victim filing a complaint.
7. Schools can issue a no-contact directive to prevent the accused student from interacting with you, kind of like a restraining order from your school.
8. In cases of sexual violence, schools are prohibited from encouraging or allowing informal mediation of the complaint rather than a formal hearing.
9. Schools cannot discourage you from your continuing education since you have a right to education under Title IX.
You have a right to remain on campus and have every educational program and opportunity available to you.
If your rights aren't being respected, you have options. Visit knowyour9.org and check us out on Facebook and Twitter.
Title IX protects all students and employees regardless of sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, on campus or online, from sexual harassment, sex-based discrimination, and sexual violence. What is sexual harassment? Sexual harassment is any unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature. Sexual harassment in education is any conduct of a sexual nature that significantly interferes with a student's access to educational opportunities. Examples of sexual harassment are, but are not limited to, unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, unwanted physical conduct of a sexual nature, sexual innuendos, spreading sexual rumors, calling people sexually charged names. What is sexual violence? Sexual violence is sexual conduct against a person's will or when that person is unable to give consent. It is a crime of violence and control. It is never the victim's fault. Sexual violence can take many forms, including but not limited to rape, sexual assault, sexual battery, sexual abuse, and sexual coercion. The DCC Student Code of Conduct prohibits sexual violence and defines the various acts constituting sexual violence as follows. Sexual assault is sexual intercourse or any sexual penetration, however slight, of another person's oral, anal, or genital opening with any object. An object includes but is not limited to parts of a person's body without the active consent of the victim. Also, touching a person's intimate parts defined as genitalia, groin, breast, or buttocks whether directly or through clothing, without the active consent of the victim. Sexual assault also includes forcing an unwilling person to touch another's intimate parts. Who is affected? 1 in 4 women will survive a sexual assault or attempted sexual assault while in college. 1 in 10 men will survive a sexual assault or attempted a sexual assault while in college. Nearly 90% of all sexual assaults on college students are perpetrated by someone they know. What is consent? Affirmative consent is a knowing, voluntary, and mutual decision among all participants to engage in sexual activity. Consent can be given by words or actions, as long as those words or actions create clear permission regarding willingness to engage in the sexual activity. Silence or lack of resistance in and of itself does not demonstrate consent. Consent to any sexual act or prior consensual sexual activity between or with any party does not necessarily constitute consent to any other sexual act. Consent is required regardless of whether the person is initiating the act is under the influence of drugs and/or alcohol. Consent may be initially given, but withdrawn at any time.
If you're still struggling with consent, just imagine instead of initiating sex, you're making them a cup of tea. You say, "Hey, would you like a cup of tea?" And they go, "Oh my God, I would love a cup of tea, thank you." Then you know they want a cup of tea. If you say, "Hey, would you like a cup of tea?" And they're like, I'm not really sure. Then you could make them a cup of tea, or not, but be aware they might not drink it. And if they don't drink it, then, and this is the important part, don't make them drink it. Just because you made it doesn't mean you are entitled to watch them drink it. And if they say no thank you, then don't make them tea. At all. Just don't make them tea. Don't make them drink tea. Don't get annoyed at them for not wanting tea. They just don't want tea, okay? They might say, "Yes, please. That's kind of you." And then when the tea arrives, they actually don't want the tea at all. Sure, that's kind of annoying as you've gone to all the effort of making the tea, but they remain under no obligation to drink the tea. They did want tea, now they don't. Some people change their mind in the time that it takes to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk. And it's okay for people to change their mind. And you are still not entitled to watch them drink it. And if they're unconscious, don't make them tea. Unconscious people don't want tea. And they can't answer the question, "Do you want tea?" because they're unconscious. Okay, maybe they were conscious when you asked them if they wanted tea. And they said yes. But in the time it took you to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk, they are now unconscious. You should just put the tea down. Make sure the unconscious person is safe. And this is the important part again. Don't make them drink the tea. They said yes then, sure, but unconscious people don't want tea. If someone said yes to tea, started drinking it, and then passed out before they'd finished it, don't keep on pouring it down their throat. Take the tea away. Make sure they're safe, because unconscious people don't want tea. Trust me on this. If someone said yes to tea around your house last Saturday, that doesn't mean they want you to make them tea all the time. They don't want you to come around to their place unexpectedly and make them tea and force them to drink it going, "But you wanted tea last week." Or to wake up to find you pouring tea down their throat going, "But you wanted tea last night." But if you can understand how completely ludicrous it is to force people to have tea when they don't want tea, and you're able to understand when people don't want tea, then how hard is it to understand it when it comes to sex? Whether it's tea or sex, consent is everything. And on that note, I'm going to go make myself a cup of tea.
VAWA is the Violence Against Women Act. Although it is called the Violence Against Women Act, individuals of all genders and gender expressions are protected. Protections are associated with dating violence, domestic violence, stalking, and sexual misconduct and assault. What is dating violence? Dating violence is the act by an individual with whom there has been a romantic or intimate relationship or marriage that is intended to cause physical harm, assault, sexual assault, or the threat that results in the fear of such harm. What is domestic violence? Domestic violence is an act against another member of a family or household intended to cause physical harm, assault, sexual assault, or the threat that results in the fear of such harm. What is stalking? Stalking is engaging in a course of conduct directed at a specific person that would cause a reasonable person to fear for his or her safety or the safety of others or suffer emotional distress. Such behavior may include any initiation of communication or contact with a victim by means of the following: telephone, by social and electronic media, after the person was previously clearly informed to cease such conduct. What can you do to prevent sexual violence? Have a plan. Talk to your friends about your plans. Having a clear plan helps friends look after one another. Go out as a group and come home as a group. Never separate, never leave your friends behind. Watch out for others. If you and your group see someone walking by themselves, ask them to join you so they don't have to walk alone. Diffuse the situation. If you see someone coming on too strong to someone who may not be able to consent, interrupt them, distract them, or redirect the situation. Trust your instincts. If a situation doesn't feel right, trust your gut and remove yourself from the situation if you can. If you see something happening, intervene. Here are some bystander intervention steps. Notice the situation. Beware of what's going on around you. Interpret it as a problem. Listen to your inner alarm. Feel responsible to act. We are all part of the solution. Know how to intervene. Educate yourself on what you can do. And intervene safely. Take action in a way that makes you feel safe. Here are some methods of intervention. Direct. Ask a person if they are okay. Tell the person that what they're doing isn't cool. Delegate. Tell someone else, a student, faculty, staff, or police. Recruit the help of friends. Distract. Ask a person if they want to leave. Diffuse and redirect the situation. Who can you contact? If you feel you've been the victim of a sexual assault or harassment, there are several places that you can contact. Confidential resources include the health office, the counseling office, and the Center for Victim Safety and Support. Private resources include our Title IX coordinators, campus safety and security, the Dean of Students, and other college personnel. Private resources mean that your information is shared on a need-to-know basis to protect the campus community and for the college to take appropriate action. Also, there's anonymous reporting, which is private but not confidential, and we do that online through Share at DCC. Here at DCC, our Title IX coordinator is Esther Corrett. The Title IX coordinator responsibilities are to oversee the process that address reported concerns or instances of sexual or gender-based discrimination, harassment, sexual assault, intimate partner violence, and stalking. This includes working closely with student services, academic affairs, human resources, and other offices to provide educational programming for the campus community that raises awareness and encourages reporting. The Title IX coordinator will help to identify the appropriate response or resolutions that may be available through both policy and law, coordinate timely investigation and communication, and assist in obtaining any appropriate intermediate measures and/or internal and external support services. As stated earlier, you can make an anonymous disclosure through Share at DCC. This is an online mechanism through the college's MyDCC student portal and is available to collect reports of sexual harassment and sexual assault. This web-based form is anonymous and confidential and will be sent to select college officials, including the Title IX coordinator, the Deputy Title IX coordinator, Director of Student Conduct, and the Director of Safety and Security. Completing this form does not constitute a police report or an official student conduct report. Additionally, survivors or witnesses who may not initially be inclined to report an incident of sexual harassment or assault to the police or DCC have the right to change their mind at any time. SUNY takes reports of sexual assault, domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking seriously. If you are a member of a SUNY community and have experienced any of the above, the Sexual Assault and Violence Response Resources website provides you with information you can use to seek resources and support and to report the crime to law enforcement and the campus. SUNY Saver allows you to find resources at or near any of the 64 student campuses. It is also available in a number of different languages. The sooner you report, the sooner the college can help and take action to stop the conduct and prevent its recurrence. If you have been the victim of sexual assault or attempted sexual assault, seek medical attention immediately. It is recommended that you not shower, clean up, or change clothes, as this may destroy evidence. Following a sexual assault, victims can experience a wider range of emotions. It is important to remember that it is not the victim's fault. DCC has professional counselors and resources available to assist victims free of charge. The State University of New York and Dutchess Community College are committed to providing options, support, and assistance to victims and survivors of sexual assault, domestic violence, dating violence, and/or stalking to ensure that they can continue to participate in college-wide and campus programs, activities, and employment. All victims and survivors of these crimes and violations, regardless of race, color, national origin, religion, creed, age, disability, sex, gender identity or expression, sexual orientation, familial status, pregnancy, predispositioning genetic characteristics, military status, domestic violence victim status, or criminal conviction, have rights, regardless of whether the crime or violation occurs on campus, off campus, or while studying abroad. A link to the Student's Bill of Rights is posted below. Do your part to help keep DCC safe. Diffuse situations before they happen. If you see something, say something. Speak up when people use sexist, racist, or homophobic language. Let's end silence, end violence, and end bias.